Good evening, Baller Nation. It's your boys, the Shotcallers, back with another podcast episode. The date is January 15, 2020. And as always, we're back to talk basketball. We got the whole trio in today. I got my boy, Andre Anarchy West.
That's me, the anarchist.
And in front of me, I got my boy, Richard, revved up Bustos.
I have a shirt that says communist. I didn't know where you were going to go on the next one.
Hook. The sickle. The scythe.
Anarchy.
Richard, the communist. And as always, we're back to talk basketball. Glad to have both of you in with me. As you guys can see, I'm the most dedicated shot caller. Not missing an episode.
I don't know.
Oh, yeah?
There's some,
We'll give you. We'll let you have that for now.
Jokes, guys.
Cross those two off the list.
Before we get started with this week's episode, let's go over our social media. If you don't already follow us, you can follow us on Twitter at Shotcaller Show. That's at Shotcaller Show. Instagram, _Shotcallers. We are on Apple Podcast, Breaker, Radio.com, Anchor, Spotify. Just look up the Shotcallers. And if you prefer a visual,
You got YouTube at Shotcaller Show.
just look
also,
up the Shotcallers.
don't forget Pocket Casts. We're on Pocket Casts.
Pocket
as well.
Cast.
And Google Podcasts. Mm-hmm. We
And
got them all.
if we didn't name your favorite podcast medium, let us know. Shoot us a message to shotcallershow@gmail.com, and we'll make sure to get on that to get on there for you. Without further ado, let's move right into some basketball NBA news. Rich, what do we got?
So first thing on the docket, Shams Charania tweeted this out. A little disappointing because I think we were initially looking at a Thursday start.
It would have been the Jazz, right?
Against the Jazz for Zion Williamson. It looks like his
I heard it was
return
because
date
he had an extra beignet.
has
They had to work
yeah.
up that bid.
Don't get me started on
I
disappointments.
said it because I know Richard doesn't like beignets.
Yeah.
Beignets are...
He says they're fake.
No,
Nah, dude.
He
they're
calls
funnel
them
cake.
fake funnel cakes.
It's what it is. It's funnel cake. Yeah.
Dude,
Chill
man,
out.
I don't know, man.
Just because you're having a coffee with the beignet doesn't make it not funnel cake.
All right, we'll settle this on Twitter, guys. Beignets or funnel
funnel
cakes?
Zion's going to come and lay it down on you, man.
So Zion is coming back. You to make him mad because he's talking shit about beignets. Coming back on the 22nd.
Yeah,
Yeah,
moving
against,
it back. So that was disappointing.
That'll be against the San Antonio Spurs. All the injured players come back against the Spurs. What's the deal with that?
Well, they say you're supposed to make your return against like a not so great team. So
Yeah.
maybe that's who they're targeting.
Unfamiliar territory for the Spurs to be one of those teams, but they indeed are a team where you can kind of ease your way back in and see what you got early on. Me and Richard talked about it last week. I think the guys are starting to feel the pressure, and that's why they're winning now. They don't want to lose those minutes to Zion. But as soon as Zion comes back, we'll have another Jordan athlete on there, a new rookie Jordan athlete on there. On the court, repping. I wonder what shoes he'll wear. They say the 34s are very good for basketball, so maybe those will, help with the injury.
Give him some support.
Yeah, give him some support. I'd be interested to know if he's gained or lost weight from before.
I'm sure he's lost weight. He's had to have
I
lost
sure
weight.
hope so for his sake.
Yeah.
What do we got next?
They were saying that his weight wasn't a concern on the way back, but
yeah, but
But
they're
he
kind
was
of.
like
What are they
more
gonna tell you? He's fat.
The mechanics, right? Like he had to learn how to walk and all that stuff all over.
Like, they're not gonna come out and say
They just
Zion got hurt because he's fat.
they make him sound like he was made in a fucking lab. Like, we've been reprogramming.
They programmed him
his
wrong.
knees.
He had a
Yeah.
bug in his walking algorithm or something, whatever. But hopefully we can see him throw down some spectacular dunks and live up
Definitely,
to
all
some
the
of the
hype will finally be here. Next, we have Nick DePaula of ESPN announcing that Joel Embiid now has an Under Armour Embiid One signature shoe, which will release this fall, and that'll make him the 7th NBA player to have a signature shoe and the only center to have a signature shoe, which is kind of surprising. Didn't Shaq have a
The only
signature shoe?
current center.
Oh, current
Well,
center.
Shaq had his own brand too.
Yeah, you
The
can find it
Shaqs.
at Payless. I bought some.
Patrick Ewing had some too. I think.
Yeah, and Al Harrington is kind of a big guy, like a big power forward as opposed to the small power forward.
But it's been like 20 years since big man's had their own shoe.
I think the thing about the Shaq, it didn't look too bad.
He wasn't
but
playing.
That logo
He
was
wasn't
terrible.
playing in Shaq's.
Well, that logo was terrible too.
Well, I mean that's his thing. Like
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
else would you choose for him? Breaking the
The
backboard?
S, maybe a cool S. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be a silhouette just because Jordan has a silhouette. Like Starbury had the star.
Yeah. I guess you're right. Shaq's line was cool. People used to actually kind of rag on them in high school, or not in high school, like in elementary school, whenever I was going to school.
Yeah, call us people assholes.
Because they were cheap, you know, they were like $30 or whatever. But I thought it was great that
I mean, that was the whole point. Have a shoe that every person could afford. But this is the second signature shoe for a player for Under Armour.
Yeah,
with Embiid.
Yeah, they're on the Steph Curry 7s right now.
Yeah, I'm interested to see like how different they look because across Nike they have like they're pretty stark differences across different brands. So it'll be interesting for.
As soon as we get a visual, that will make sure to throw it up on
there wasn't any kind of prototype that I saw. The only, I guess, detail that I could find was that the first thing that your foot touches or the first point of contact is the heel inside the sole or inside, I guess, the shoe. And that's going to be like a silhouette of Africa, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah, I got to get some Cameroonians unite. Wakanda forever.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Next on Reddit news, and I say Reddit news just because Reddit news is essentially the highlights. We saw a cool highlight of James Harden not respecting Ja Morant's jumper, so basically asking him to shoot the three, not going over to guard him, and then of course Ja Morant drains it, and then the best
what
that
did he say, Andre? What did he say?
He said MF better look me
up.
He
said, tell that motherfucker about me.
Oh, I'm not I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Ja. I mistranslated.
The quote's right here.
I got the rated G version.
Yeah, this happened just last night, and then of course after that, the Grizzlies moved on to beat the Rockets quite handily.
Yeah, about 10 points.
By 10 points, that's definitely an upset win. And Ja Morant backed up, what he was talking about. So I wonder if Harden went home and looked them up.
Yeah, I think always having Ja as rookie of the year, so it's good to see him, take that opportunity against one of the premier players to, make a statement.
Yeah, some people will say, don't bark before you're established.
Oh, I mean,
I feel like he's
establishing himself.
Yeah, exactly. I like it.
He's pouring some cement.
Some people
right
on the other side of the yard will say.
What I think is just so cool is how they have Jaren Jackson Jr. finishing these dunks for him, shining as well as opposed to just being on your own.
Yeah, I saw.
He was a contender for Rookie of the Year last year too. I mean, if Luka was out of the picture, that dude was putting up like crazy numbers last year. So I
did see a headline that was kind of like insinuating that this was the next duo. That'd be pretty cool for the city of Memphis. I think well deserved for them. Always having loyal guys, sticking to their guys, paying them to stay. Not a big market. It just kind of talks about the culture, right? When a guy like Ja Morant is very proud to be in Memphis, I can definitely see him going the way of Mike Conley and being a Grizzly for a long time. So hopefully they find more success moving forward. Next we have Dan Feldman of Yahoo Sports. Was this a tweet? Or just tweeting that Kawhi Leonard and Paul George plotted Clippers team up at Drake's house. So Drake actually threw a party, and Paul George and Kawhi Leonard were both in attendance. Mm-hmm. This was after the championship.
Yeah, and I guess Kawhi Leonard and Paul George had somewhere to meet, and
went in the broom closet and were like, "We doing this?"
Oh, I guess so.
Let's go.
And then during free agency, that's where Kawhi Leonard was staying. While he was making his decision when he was in LA. When he wasn't in Toronto. So kind of ironic how the ambassador of the Raptors didn't make it happen or have a major. But it's just kind of weird.
He triggered the event that caused the superstar to leave Toronto.
It's poetic, I guess,
right?
If you want to say that.
I mean, they got their win. They're good. But yeah, it's crazy.
That's definitely a team where it's we appreciate this like no other, and they can be like, well, if it cost us this to get this, it's worth it. You know what I mean?
I mean, that's probably the kind of place where these kind of decisions take place too. Like some party, everyone's having a good time. So you know what, we should team up. That's when those conversations.
Yeah, All-Star Weekend is when everybody says that stuff happens. You know,
Kyrie and KD hanging out, being like, you know what, let's do this.
The Olympics, the Olympic Village, it's not just
I hope I've heard stuff that happens there, so that's why I kind of.
There's some other things. We're not talking about that.
Still, or?
No, actually, the Team USA players stay on the boat, is what I hear.
Okay, gotcha.
Until they venture off. But,
so
when they're on the boat, I guess that's what they're.
I'm sure that's what sparked it. I mean, who's to say where it all started? I think if you look at what the Clippers say, it started once they actually started having meetings with him is when he brought up Paul George. So definitely I could see it having sparked at a party because it kept.
It seemed premeditated.
If we think back to when that happened, where everybody's like, "What the fuck?
Like everyone
Paul
else was caught
George,
off guard,
you know?
But, going off the interviews, it seemed like.
And then other reports say that Paul George was like 4th on his list. There was other guys. So who knows?
Yeah, there are moments where you're just like when you just mentioned and when it went down, how everybody was like, "What the fuck?" Like I think everyone knows where they were when that news broke. I definitely do.
I was sitting in bed. It was like in the middle of the night, and I texted y'all.
I was at the bar, and my phone was just blowing up.
I was watching a movie, and I said, "We're not watching this anymore. I gotta text these boys."
I was like, "What?"
Yeah.
Crazy.
Last bit of news: Shams tweeted, "Landmark day in WNBA, new collective bargaining agreement that has raised average salaries to 6 figures for the first time, up to $500,000 from the previous $130,000. Improved travel and marketing opportunities and fully paid salary on maternity leave, among other changes." So monumental for the WNBA. Good to see it, particularly if you really look at it. The thing that stands out to me the most that almost seems prehistoric is the fact that they're barely gonna have maternity leave.
Yeah,
that kind of seems like, and granted, collective bargaining agreements have to expire.
Mm-hmm.
But
just for the next one, right?
Yeah, but just to think that it like, damn, they
got that kind of generation.
Yeah.
I think it's good because they profit share, right? NBA and WNBA, so it's good to see with the NBA bringing in as much money as they do that the women are getting some of that.
Yeah, people argue a number of things why the WNBA doesn't make more money, etc. I really wish the marketing was a little bit better. Just because you have to go look for it.
Right.
Yeah, you have to go look for the WNBA. It's not plastered everywhere the way the NBA is, so maybe that has something to do with it. I personally haven't been to a game, but I think if it was made more
readily accessible,
I'd say it's pretty accessible, right? TV wise, it's not accessible because you have to go. Like, I can't just turn on YouTube. I use UTV. You guys use UTV. I don't turn it on, and that's like on there, right? I have to go like.
You have to know. You have to go with intention and know that's what you want to look at.
NBA, I turn on
you just flip the channels.
The YouTube algorithm, though, if you type in WNBA like 12 times, they're just gonna start recommending you.
But it's not on one of those channels. YouTube. I'm talking about YouTube TV. I'm talking about
It's gonna be like on a local
the
channel.
algorithm. You look up door hinges on YouTube. You got all the recommendations about door hinges that you
not
need.
talking about YouTube. I'm talking about YouTube TV.
Oh, you are talking about YouTube TV.
Yeah,
I'm
not talking about YouTube. Yes, if I search WNBA, of course.
And like the fact that their season, I feel like
their season's a lot shorter.
Well, it's shorter, but it's like in the summer after the NBA season.
I think if it was going on at the same time, I'd probably
there'd be a chance.
I'd be like more inclined to. I want to watch some more basketball.
And there's some weekends where it's like
you get a comparison.
Well, to give you a comparison, personal comparison, whenever the college basketball games are going on, after the games are over, sometimes they'll throw on like women's college basketball, and I've sat and watched an entire game because I'm in that zone.
You're already in the
like,
mood. You're already set for watching basketball.
So maybe that'll be a.
It's kind of like that programming trick, like Family Guy's on at 7. Let's put a new premiere on right afterward. You're already sitting on the couch.
You might as well check it out.
Whatever. All right, what's this? I'll give it a shot.
That might be the truth.
Yeah, and so I think they should just sync up the schedule with the NBA season, just like you guys were saying, and then
do it back right after.
Yeah, no, just sync it up like they're happening at the same time.
Yeah,
you could have a whole weekend.
Stagger it so it comes on. You can see it during halftime.
This is NBA Finals weekend. We got the NBA Finals and the WNBA Finals.
People would probably watch both. Yeah, definitely.
And so and then, like as far as like the whole negotiation, I think it's trending towards going through, and not that like NBA player salaries or WNBA player salaries should be measured equally because the viewing, of course, is different. But I just think it's nice to have a quality of life increase
for them
because like. Those ladies are like sharing hotel rooms and like they're having to play overseas instead of playing in the WNBA for
and
dollars.
Giving up pregnancies and stuff for non-guaranteed contracts and stuff. So it's pretty
step in the right direction.
Yeah,
sure.
I agree.
I think we're on something with the scheduling thing.
Yeah, I haven't heard that actually personally myself. So
tweet the commissioner.
So that does it for news. If you guys feel like we missed anything and would like us to cover it, shoot us a message on Twitter at Shotcallers Show, and we'll make sure to either do a quick Twitter response to whatever is on your mind. And speaking of what's on your mind, that leads us into our next segment, and that's just what's on your mind. What's been irking you?
John Morant's fucking good, and I called it. Like
and you called it, Rich, because he wasn't down.
After Zion went down, I did. I said he's gonna win Rookie of the Year. I said he's gonna win Rookie of the Year.
You really stuck your neck out for that one.
We all picked him as Rookie of the Year. Yes, we all picked him as Rookie of the Year.
Memory on this.
We definitely all picked him as Rookie of the Year.
Okay, well anyway,
you called it, Rich.
He looks like
very good.
He looks like a damn beast.
You and 10 million others.
It looks like he's having fun, but he's not like overtaking the offense or not getting touches to other guys while he's doing it.
He's doing it within offense.
Like when he threw that massive lob to Triple J, like he's doing a behind the back, kind of through the legs kind of thing. And it's like, Jesus Christ, what is he doing? He was stalling for time for Jaren to get all the way down the floor instead of pushing it for a highlight. He can jump over people almost. Like, he could have done that. But instead, he's like, let me showboat a little bit while I'm getting this guy involved.
It ain't no fun unless the boys
crack an
get
assist
some
open
too.
for the boys,
Yep.
So, yeah.
One thing that I've been seeing a lot lately is when people are talking about like next year and stuff like that. Why is nobody talking about the Warriors?
What are they going to be?
I think everyone
doing
kind of.
Yeah, like I think
They're in the back of everyone's mind, but we all know they're trying to forget.
I feel like people are sleeping on them this year. There's a chance that Steph Curry comes back and plays. There's even a slight chance that Klay comes back and play. I think that's a longer stretch, but they're only 5.5 games out of the playoffs. Like,
we mentioned that last time.
If they get into the AC, Rich, you gave me a lip smack. But
I was saying I just don't think they're going to come back.
I'm
not saying that if they did come back, it wouldn't happen.
I'm just saying is if you get into the 8th seed and you have Steph Curry out there, anything can happen at that point.
I think that you're shitting bricks if you're in the 1 seed.
Exactly.
Lakers.
We said that about them, and we said that about Portland too. Those are two teams that last year Portland was in the Western Conference Finals. They're a Nurkic short of, I think, being a top 4 team in my opinion. And nobody's talking about it. And that's because Damian, like you said, they're not winning. Damian Lillard's putting.
Damian's kind of being hit or miss, but it's more like CJ's just completely disappeared.
They're just trying to stay afloat at this point.
Yeah.
They're trying to stay afloat at this point, and the reason that is because Damian Lillard's going to get his regardless. But if you watch last year, CJ McCollum needs that spacing in the middle of the floor. He's not the guy that's going to pull up from 3 every single time like Damian Lillard can and will his way to the basket. He's just not as athletic as Damian Lillard. He needs the spacing on the floor to hit that mid-range jumper or to hit that running floater. So when you have nothing going on inside and the center can just not worry about Hassan Whiteside, like, it just makes it very difficult for him to shoot over that big man.
Threes too, though, man.
It just makes him really difficult for him to shoot over that big man because the big man he meets him at the paint and like he can't hit that running floater like he was last year.
I think it's more so that like even with all that considered, he won't pass the ball. That's the thing. He gets tunnel vision.
Well, outside of Nurkic, but that's what you kind of want at him sometimes.
Because CJ, you want microwave offense.
If you're not running your offense through Damian Lillard on that particular play, that's what you want CJ to do. What do you want him to? I mean, he's not gonna.
I mean, obviously, if it's not a good shot, you want to pass to the open man or try to create something. He has the ability to penetrate.
Yeah, but usually something through him, he's weaving through traffic and then trying to finish. Even if they had Zach Collins, I think they'd be in better shape.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, they're hurting at power forward and center.
So those are two teams that I'm gonna say right now have an opportunity to take that 8th seed, and
it's kind of weird seeing the 8th seed being 5-4 by all sub 500 teams, right? Yeah. No, sub 500 teams. Like
I can't remember the last time the West had sub 500. I think it was probably like 2012. The last time that we had that was the last time that the West was having like poor teams fighting, because I think it was 2013. Where like you had a 50-win team not make the playoffs. That was crazy. It was the Nuggets,
season. I think.
Yeah,
50 wins, and they didn't
make the playoffs. So we've seen both sides of it.
Yeah. But speaking of Hassan Whiteside earlier, it reminds me of when he got traded on this contract, and he goes on Instagram or whatever social media platform, Snapchat, and he kind of announces what he's doing. That's how he announced he was re-signing with the Miami Heat. And maybe he just tweeted. He was like, "We got shooters now. We got shooters," talking about in Miami or in Portland. And then now they got Duncan Robinson lining it up from 3 in Miami. They got Tyler Herro. They got Kendrick Nunn. Like, these guys just line it up. And then Jimmy Butler can take the big 3 if he needs to, even though his percentages aren't like gigantic, but he's there and he's not afraid. So, and then they even got Bam Adebayo shooting some threes.
Yeah, he'll do it.
Nobody was saying, Whiteside, we need you to shoot at least 1 3 a game, or else we're gonna make you pay us money. Like that's not what they're doing. So pretty ironic. That's what he was saying about the Trailblazers when it's looking rough out there for the moment.
Yeah.
Anything on your mind, Andre, before we jump into our games?
No, man. I'm with you mostly, man. Portland's really hurting from the lack of Nurkic and Zach Collins. They really need some defense and some more offensive options. But
can we get some more coverage on the East Coast outside of the Celtics? Yeah.
Hey, Kyrie came back today.
The Hornets looking crispy.
Or he came back yesterday.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
With Devontae Graham,
Graham's
Golden Crams. That's what
Golden Grams. That's what they call
them. Can't miss.
Yeah, honey nut.
All I know is I'm excited for the East because our boy Victor Oladipo is right around the corner for coming back.
January 29th, I believe, is the date, and he comes back.
That's when the Pacers really become the Pacers, and Remember what
Like,
I said at the beginning of the
strong they are,
season,
yeah.
that if they faced against Philly, Philly would have a tough time and they would lose that.
I'm so happy
I
seeing.
feel like I made a bet with one of you on that.
I
Maybe not.
don't think it was me.
But I remember saying if Philly has to run into Indiana in the second round, they will lose that matchup. And it's starting to look like it because Indiana's actually
They passed them.
they passed them, so they could very well meet up in the first round. I could see
What,
them
4 and 5?
I could see them meeting up in the first round even before the second round. 4 and 5 seed possibly.
Yeah.
If you're Philadelphia, you want the 2 seed. Like you want to avoid having to face
Indiana
Milwaukee.
or
Milwaukee.
Oh, in the second round
Until the
Milwaukee.
last possible,
Yeah, that's
option. And
So
then
you want the 2 or the 3 seed.
and you want Milwaukee to have to take out maybe Boston. You know what I mean? Something like that.
So you want the 3rd or the 2nd seed.
So it's
Philly's actually, they've done pretty well against Boston so far. They've beaten them every game, but
yeah. Well, I'm talking about that they want to avoid Milwaukee is what I'm saying.
yeah,
And they want Boston to just kind of take care of themselves by either beating Milwaukee by chance or by getting beaten by Milwaukee.
Yeah. So he's saying you want Boston in the 4 seed. 'Cause,
Yeah.
oof, if you end up in the 4 seed, you're playing Indiana maybe round 1,
Those
followed by
some tough
Milwaukee
matches,
round
yeah.
2. Oof, that's tough.
between Sabonis and Turner, that's
The
a
East-
lot.
I think the East playoffs are gonna be just as exciting, if not more exciting, than the
Oh
Western
yeah,
Conference.
they're deep. I'm interested to see. So Kyrie just came back. They played.
I don't want to talk about the Nets. No,
You don't want to talk about the Nets? Yeah, they just lost.
No, it's just the last couple of weeks I've been like the Nets are what we thought they were. No.
Yeah.
they're
Yeah, they just lost to
they're in
Philly
the trial
today.
period.
So
Don't ask me to resub just yet
not yet.
to my Brooklyn
Pistons just
subscription.
beat the Celtics.
Well, Brooklyn is kind of, in football they say any given Sunday. Brooklyn is kind of like that any given whatever
Weeknight.
day. Yeah,
Any
given
given
weeknight. They can beat any team. Like it's like dang, who was it? This is totally nothing to do with basketball, but Brooklyn can beat anybody, but anybody can beat Brooklyn. That's from a video game, but the people won't know what we're talking about.
What video game
West
was
Balls.
it? Oh, it's from
Yeah.
it's from Super Smash Brothers way back in the day.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah, I don't want to harp on this too long or spend too much time talking about Portland, even though we just kind of left them. But they're up 74-63 against the Rockets right now, so they're doing pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, JV, this might be their chance to go for a running, contend for that 8th seed.
They just have to stay right there.
know.
Within 5 games of 8, they get Nurkic.
Stay above, keep their head above
Even
water.
if they get
Yeah.
Nurkic, back at the end of February, make a little run with him, and then they'll be set up for the playoffs. So some of the games from this week. One game I watched, there was the Warriors against the Mavericks. I talked a little bit about the Warriors, right? And the reason I like watching those games is because I like to see what the possible bench moving forward will look like, and also I like to see Draymond Green.
Without Stephen Clay.
Yeah, without Stephen Clay, not because I want to see he's been exposed, which everybody talked about at the beginning of the season, but more so I want to see his hustle. And it was good to see. You see a little bit of everything, right? Because when you start going down by 30 points, you can only hustle so much. You can only be so motivated. But early on in the game, he's still playing great defense. He's still sticking to his man at the 3-point line. He's still hustling to cover on 2-on-1s on transition. What he's really good at, and he's always been very good at, and I love to see this, is when the guy is driving to the bucket off of the pick and roll, he's very good at sticking to this guy, but then also
Ready to
covering the
come
guy
off,
that's
trying to cover too.
Yeah, that's rolling, right? Like it's just it's beautiful because he actually he tipped the ball.
Yeah.
So it was DeLon Wright came off the screen. I think it was Powell that rolled, or Maxey, I can't remember. And he tried to dish it to the other guy, and
Draymond read it, just got
Draymond stuck him so well that he couldn't just get the free run to the
lob,
basket.
man.
He tried to lob it, and Draymond was able to catch it. And Draymond's not the tallest guy, but he was still able to
That
grab
whisper,
it,
yeah.
tipped it, turnover, transition, bucket on the other end. So he's still, refining his. He's still not refining, but he's still, playing hard defense early on in games until they become out of reach. Then you kind of see him, kind of check it in a little bit more. But one thing I would love to see, and I saw in this game that I would love to see, and I don't see why more guys don't do this when they're on bad teams or when they have injuries. It's fuck it, shoot the ball. And he did that. He was walking up to the 3-point line. You know how sometimes he'll shoot it if it ends up in his hands at the 3, and then he'll shoot it. There's a couple times where it was like 1 pass 3, and I was like, he didn't make it. But it's like, go for it.
Yeah,
go for it, because this could be something that you develop. Maybe you don't develop into a 35% 3. I'm not saying he's going to turn into a 35%
I'm not saying that
shooter,
either.
but get the reps in.
Yeah.
If you don't feel like you're going to win the games,
Might as
go
well
in
just
there.
throw it up, yeah.
One thing that I did like is he took it to the rim and he Euro step. He did, yeah.
Did Draymond with the Euro step?
He didn't make
Yeah.
it. But that's the point. If you're losing anyway,
Try
go for it. I love to see that for him because I've always been one to criticize his offense, right? Like he's the Achilles heel of that, you know, one of the all-time great offense. Yeah. But it's like if the ball's in his hand, it kind of slows down a little bit, kind of stops, you know. And to see him like literally get the ball at the top of the 3-point line and then drive and Euro, I was like, ooh, like,
yeah, and like you're so right. Like, and Draymond Green developing is one thing, and it's even more true of guys that are at the end of the bench. Like, what you're talking about now reminds me of what's going on in Brooklyn. To rewind us just a little bit, like Kyrie Irving was kind of in the air if he was going to come back or not. There's a lot of times where you're wondering to yourself, should he come back? I mean, does this year even matter? Kevin Durant's come back next year, and that's when they're really going to try. We don't know much about Kevin Durant's, rehab, how it's going, because they're being kind of quiet in Brooklyn. But it's like, I don't think that they should rest people or kind of punt the season like whatsoever. They should play with Kyrie Irving. They should be in the playoff race. They should go get spanked by the Milwaukee Bucks. But it's these guys' audition. This is Kurucs' audition here.
Try to see how they.
When we were talking about Kyrie a couple weeks ago, and we were like, is Kyrie the problem? Who gives what's going on in Brooklyn right now? Go crazy. Like, go crazy this year. Figure out what you can get out of Spencer Dinwiddie.
Get your reps and see how they do in the playoffs.
Dinwiddie's available.
They could trade him.
But now if Kyrie's able to go out there on the court and then there's no possibility of injury, don't check it in. Go out there and throw 35 shots, Kyrie. Like, go do that now while you can. Refine your craft more so than it already is, and then next year, like, you're
when
just that much better. Like,
you need to see how these guys respond to being in a pecking order, not playing with like in a lawless wasteland like in Cleveland. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Kevin Durant's gonna get his 29 shots whenever he wants.
They're gonna have to get used to 45, 50 shots going up by these two guys.
It's one of those things they talk about, like especially teams like Miami, about building a winning culture. You know, they try to compete with whatever teams they got, and you see. Like this season, they kind of come out of nowhere.
They're ready when
Jimmy Butler,
when the pyramid is established. They know how to be the foundational pieces. Are they? Yeah, they're ready to do so.
Right.
Kind of reminds me of the Raptors. Like the Raptors, next man up. Miami Heat have the same mentality. Pat Riley's out here saying, "I want to build one more super team before I retire."
Yeah, he said that.
So what
might happen?
What is he plotting? He's
got all of us by surprise this season.
He is the plottingest man that I can think of. Like
Godfather.
So.
We'll see.
I'm scared.
Anything else on the airwaves that y'all saw this week?
No.
Another game?
I mean, the Jazz are white
games
hot
now, by the way.
I
jumped right into it.
The Jazz are white hot, man. Like, I saw them playing against the Nets, and
I thought that was the Heat.
Sorry, the Jazz are white hot too. They got
that was a Heat joke.
They're white hot. The only team that's even close to them is the Lakers winning 9 in a row. The Jazz are winning 10 in a row, and it's unfortunate timing with Mike Conley going down at that moment, you know, and then sparking that run ever since they got that trade for Jordan Clarkson.
Joe Ingles in the starting lineup, and
I mean, Conley strictly off the bench when he comes back.
No, I don't think so. I think
what's wrong with it?
I mean,
because of the money.
If it ain't broken,
strictly is what I'm saying. I think that they're not afraid to tinker with lineups. I think Mike Conley is like an agreeable guy. He's like, okay, I'll work myself back in. We'll see if we can keep going with what we have going. You see, Joe Ingles has a chemistry with Rudy Gobert. Just like you're saying, people need to pull people away from the rim for people to be successful. You can't just take Rudy Gobert off the floor and expect Joe Ingles to perform the same way. You're talking about CJ McCollum not having Nurkic. Rudy Gobert is not who you think of when you think of an offensive creator. He's not Nikola Jokic, but he has gravity. He's taller than everybody on the court, and he's going to dunk that shit. So people have to shade to him to try to cut off that lob pass that gives Joe Ingles room to work. Joe Ingles is a kind of slimy dude in a good way.
I'm gonna go and dig back into this pile of history
as well.
I'm going way back. You remember the Pacers back during the Heat era, and they were like,
Roy Hibbert.
If only they had Danny Granger. What was his name? What was the other guy? Oh my God,
Danny Granger.
Yeah, if only they had Danny
Roy
Granger,
Hibbert.
because it was George Hill. Remember, George Hill was the starter.
Oh,
Once they get Danny Granger back, that's the real point guard on the Pacers.
Yeah.
Once they get Danny Granger back, Danny Granger came back, and what did the Pacers do?
They kept it on the
bench. They kept George Hill. And they were more fit because why would you tinker with it?
And I think you're both kind of right. Like, you say Ingles needs Gobert to be successful, and you say Conley might come off the bench. I think it's a little bit of both because Conley kind of struggling because he's playing with Gobert. Yeah. So you don't have a center stretching the floor. He's used to playing with.
I went all the way back to that because everybody was like, well, the lineup was supposed to have Danny Granger in it.
Yeah.
And they ran the whole season with George Hill. Well, like 2/3 of the season, Danny Granger came back, and what did Frank Vogel decide to do? Let's keep
George Hill
in there. Why can't Mike Conley do that? Just come off the bench.
I think they might do that. I mean, you got a 10-game 10-game win streak. That's not accidental.
Yeah, definitely. Who did they? A quick little. I'll call this JV's tidbits.
You got it.
JV's tidbits.
The Jazz are 10-0 since they got.
And
Jordan
they're beating
Clarkson.
some teams
They're
that are
undefeated.
They're undefeated, 10-0 since they got Jordan Clarkson.
The teams they're beating
that might be the key.
The teams they're beating are not very good, but
hey, you got to beat who's in front of you.
Jordan Clarkson is the key.
A good team beats who.
Well,
they're
the reason I
supposed
bring that up is because I remember seeing the headline that Jordan Clarkson was being traded, and the headline started with Cleveland Cavaliers trade, and I was like, Kevin Love, and then it's like Jordan Clarkson, and I was like,
tune out.
And now they're 10-0 since
Click
he joined
away.
the team. So.
Yeah, I mean they beat the Pistons, the Bulls, the Magic, the Pelicans, the Knicks, the Hornets, the Wizards, the Nets so far.
Ooh.
They play the Pelicans again, the Kings, and their first real test is going to be against Indiana. Then they got the Warriors, so they could be knocking at the door.
Sounds like they just had
seed.
a very
Fair.
tough schedule too to start the season.
Yeah, it could be it. What are the games I got out there? I got a game.
Go ahead.
Cool.
But, thanks, guys. Appreciate that.
Yeah, go for it.
So yeah, I was watching the Clippers against the Cavs, and granted it's the Cavs, so everybody looks good, right? Everybody's gonna look good. But man, I think the biggest acquisition when you talk about value compared to output, it's got to be Mo Harkless, man. Mo Harkless off of the bench, he comes in here, he's got size,
An ex-trailblazer.
he hustles, he can grab rebounds over guys, but he also is very good on the offensive boards, which I like to see from guys that are. He's not undersized.
They say he's like their second best defender too.
Oh, definitely. I was gonna say
Like,
he has the defensive chops.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if you were gonna say offense or defense.
There's a lot of defense across that team, so I didn't want to just hone in on his defense. What I like is his hustle on the offensive boards. The other day, it was against John
Collins,
big boy from the Cavs,
John Lure,
Heron.
John Heron.
Oh,
I can't think of his last name. Look it up.
Secondary center after Thompson.
Yeah, but he had a nice putback right over him. Avoiding the foul, not going over the back. So he can kind of do a little bit of everything.
John Henson.
John Henson.
Yeah.
I cannot remember the last name. John Henson. 6'9". John Henson. He's 6'7". More Harkless. Put back right over him. It was nice. It was practically a dunk. I would have liked it to be a dunk. Would have been a little bit flashier, but I guess when you're that far ahead, you don't want to
make. Yeah.
Yeah, but just seeing it, like you guys said, second best defender on the team, but he's also a spark off the bench. I think back all the way to the first game of the season, brand new team playing against the Lakers. The Lakers were winning that game, and then Mo Harkless came in the third quarter and just lit it up, dude. So what I'm saying, what, man?
No, it's fine. Mo Harkless is cool. He wears a headband. It's cool.
He came in the third quarter and he sparked them to take the lead in that game. So that's kind of the player you get from him. So if everybody wants to talk about Kawhi Leonard, talk about Paul George, Lou Williams, Montrezl Harrell. We talk about the depth. When you look at the depth, I think the key to that depth is going to be more Harkless, especially when you talk about the playoffs. We saw what he did with Portland last year in the playoffs. They brought him in, and he was also a spark for Portland off the bench. So it seems like anywhere he goes, when he gets that playing time, it's like he feeds off of the fact that I may have to sit down for the next 20 minutes in the fourth quarter.
We go and do as much as I can.
He's like almost like a third quarter specialist in my eyes. Like the third quarter is mine. I'm going to take over. And so check in on those Clippers games and you pay attention to that third quarter. He comes in that third quarter and he just kind of turns it up. And against the Cavs, they grew their lead to double digits when he came in. But he also does the little things, right? The hustle on offense to put back the blocks. He'll get a block a game. And he'll die for the ball. He dove for a ball in that game against Cleveland. So I like to see that.
Yeah, his hustle's always great. And I was just mentioning pecking order. It's just clear to me that players like him, players like Norman Powell, players like what?
Sorry, I just thought he's gonna be my new Danny Green and they got more Harkless.
Oh, gotcha.
I used to say that to Richard all the time.
Yeah.
I'd be like, they got
Spurs, they got Kawhi Leonard, they got Marcus Gasol, and I was talking about the Raptors.
Oh, the Raptors, and they got Danny Green.
And then on the Spurs, they got Tony Parker, they got Manu Ginobili, they got Tim Duncan, and they got Danny Green. Oh my God,
Harkless is my new Danny Green.
Yeah, and so anyway, guys like that, it's like
minus the shot.
There's obviously a pecking order, and you're not going to get 5 shots a game guaranteed to you. So go fucking get that thing. Go get the hustle plays. Go slash the rim.
Get everything else.
No one needs to draw up you getting a rebound.
Yeah, I think all title teams have that guy. I think for the Raptors last year it was
Storm and Norm.
Storm and Norm is going, but I think Fred VanVleet was like the more standout one, right?
Yeah.
It's like,
especially
I'm coming in.
Yeah.
It's like, it's my turn. Give me the ball. Time to cook.
Milwaukee and against Golden State. So,
yeah.
Man, that's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess moving on. Last week I watched OKC versus Houston. This was Russell Westbrook's first return back home to OKC.
He played super well. The rest of the Rockets couldn't hit anything.
He did pretty well. Finished about 50% from the field. Had a lot of assist opportunities, but his teammates just couldn't finish. He got them a lot of pretty good looks, but the defense by OKC just seemed to be too much. And part of that,
OKC is like
kind of they're exceeding expectations, right? They're the 7th seed.
It's like the Misfits or like the what do you call it?
Everyone like
the Island of Misfits toys.
The leftovers. No one wanted them.
The
replacement
movie that came out not that long ago.
The
Suicide Squad.
They're like the Suicide Squad. Like that. Like literally.
I just found the title of the episode.
Yeah, like they are like you're like Chris Paul, a little bit older.
Like Gallinari, he's always injured.
For some reason,
Shay's good, but
Gallinari's been like on 1,000 teams.
For some people are down on Steven Adams.
Shea Alexander's like
he's young,
scrappy
like,
guy
we'll see
with a
what
lot of
happens.
athleticism, but you don't really know what he is.
Yeah.
And then Steven Adams is Aquaman.
Yeah.
Turned evil.
Aquaman turned evil. But yeah, that's a perfect example, man. But they just played well defensively. Offensively, they're moving the ball extremely well, like I've never seen OKC do. Mm-hmm. They're sharing assists across the team, and you see that like with their field goal percentages, everyone finished like over 50%.
It's like pass the ball and keep moving.
Yeah, everyone's engaged. The highest score was 24.
And Chris Paul's fucking shooting so efficiently in the fourth quarter. He's just like, it's like a ship captain. You know what I mean?
He kind of had his way with that team.
Yeah,
like he knew exactly what they were gonna do.
It was like when he was in New Orleans, all over again. It's
he's definitely a leader, man.
You turn that ship to the left, and all your sailors know they all have to lean to the right to compensate. You know what I mean?
I think that just speaks to him being able to go into a locker room. And, we talked about how the perception is he's a dick.
I called him a dick on this show.
But I like him. I like him. I guarantee you he's one of those guys that everywhere he seems like a dick. And then when he gets to the locker room, everybody's like, this guy is amazing.
He's the
we
captain.
love him. Like they don't talk about it probably, but like it's one of those guys that you're like, he's actually a really great guy. Like we love him. Like you can follow him.
And maybe it's like your manager that you hate doesn't get along with the co-managers, but there's not really a problem with the employees. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's that he was having a problem with Blake Griffin. It's not that he was having a problem with
the rest of the team. Like
exactly,
DeAndre Jordan, all of them, they get along just fine. But yeah, I'm sure OKC's not regretting that contract right now. They got a ton of assets. They're in the playoff race, and they're looking like a solid team. It doesn't look like a fluke at this point.
You only got to get to first round exit to
be a success
to match Russell Westbrook's success.
Damn, why are you gonna do it like that after they give him a tribute video?
That's the reality that's the reality we live in. That's
Chris Paul at All-Star this season.
I mean, that's as far as they've got in the last 3 seasons.
He definitely is gonna get some votes. I think he'll get some coaches' votes on the reserve spot.
It would be ridiculous if they made it out of the first round. That'd be some shit.
That would be. I'd said if they
get the right draw, they could.
I said if they beat the Rockets, they'd be pretty crazy, right?
Yeah,
Rockets,
that would be ridiculous. Oh man,
7-2.
Like the history between these two teams, you got so many players.
I would feel so bad about.
You got Westbrook, Harden.
It'd be very clear that his
inefficiencies
are on display. So
before we move on to Pick'em, Rich, anything that stood out to you this week?
No, I was just gonna mention about the Nets and the Heat earlier. Bam Adebayo, you guys talked about y'all's All-Star picks the week that I didn't make it, and I'm not gonna bore everybody with my picks, but y'all picked I think the starters out of the starters returns. We're gonna learn, who made the All-Star game and how the teams are gonna go. But next on the 23rd, I think is when that's gonna happen. But I just wanted to talk about some reserves that I think are gonna get in. I think Bam Adebayo, awesome. Not afraid to shoot the three when they tell him to. Be a part of the system and just
run the point.
How many assists he's getting
as a center,
looking like Al Horford a little bit, almost 6 assists a game. So
the Eastern Jokic,
just but he looks undersized if you just see him walking into the game. But just the presence that he commands or the presence that he has on the floor, just a force of energy.
Pascal Siakam,
came back from injury.
Back,
well, I'm excited to see him make his case. So, but yeah, so that's really
the reason I said his name is because I feel like Bam is kind of doing what Pascal did last year.
Just barreling to the rim when he needs to.
Barreling to the rim, but also he might be this year's most improved player.
Yeah,
I can see that.
I want it to be Pascal though. Just
everyone wants it.
That was my.
That's the only thing.
Yeah. Cool. So we're gonna move on to our Pick'em contest. We're gonna go over last week's games, just kind of the scores, right? So Andre, you went 5-2. One of those correct picks being your underdog pick. I believe you picked San Antonio to
over
beat
Boston.
Great
I like
pick there.
Pop
I would
over
not have. That's
Brad
ridiculous.
Stevens. I feel that's like
Boston's kind of on an up and down right now, right? They're losing to teams that they've
been looking good. Tatum had a career high like a few days ago, like 43 points.
Yeah, like on 33% shooting, bro.
Oh.
Continue to beat this
Come
drum.
on, we gotta get the large markets, man.
I'm just saying. Like I picked them to win one of these games against Philly just because I didn't believe in Philly at the moment. Like I said, I cannot get over the fact of how stagnant that offense gets. But they took a beat out and had more shooters out there, so I think that kind of helped.
Dude, you're just talking about the Philadelphia 76ers offense, right? Yeah. It's just so frustrating.
The problem is Ben and Embiid don't work because Ben won't shoot.
Yeah.
Ben is fine without Embiid, and Embiid's fine without Ben.
It's like they're like a luxury car, man. They got some awesome pieces, but let's say something goes wrong, the offense isn't clicking. You need to get something real specific to fix that thing. They're like a BMW, man. It's expensive, and you need specific stuff to make it work. So the pieces that they need to make that work are expensive. You know, you got Al Horford.
76ers are the BMW.
He's like a Ford. You know what I mean? He just keeps on trucking. So. It just doesn't work.
Seem like a muscle car to me.
Yeah. So Andre, you want
but it's an expensive 4-1.
Yeah, good at one thing.
I got second place for last week.
You're talking about the pick'em.
Yeah, the pick'em. I went 4-3. Missed my underdog, so I got 4 points. Rich went 3-4. Did not hit his underdog, so he has 3 points.
This is week 2, right?
That was week 1.
I feel like I've picked another round.
You guys realize this is barely January 15th.
No, because the first week of the month I wasn't.
It was a mixed week too.
We didn't pick that week.
Yeah, no, you're right.
I wasn't there the first week.
Yeah, he wasn't here the first week. So Miami at Indiana, we all picked Miami and they won. Toronto and Charlotte, we all picked Toronto and they won. Denver at Dallas, I got that right. You guys went with Dallas. I went with Denver. Chicago, New Orleans. Who went with Chicago? You went with Chicago, Rich. You got that one wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Boston and Philly. You guys got that. Philly. We all got Portland over Minnesota wrong. And then the underdog pick. Andre's the only one that got the underdog pick. So
it's hard out here sometimes.
It's very close.
I'm about to miss 5 in a row.
We got 2 more weeks of this left. So we got this week and then next week. So it can still go either way. Underdogs are worth 2 points, and we're only 3 points apart in a total.
Y'all pray for me.
So for week 2, again, 6 games that are even. We all picked a side, and then we all picked a different underdog. So first game, Miami at OKC. I picked OKC. You guys picked Miami.
Yeah, I feel
you're gonna see a trend here as to why I picked these teams.
I feel like Miami's gonna bounce back from a couple of losses that they had that I think they wish they could get back and just really get the offense going. Jimmy Butler kind of come up big. He kind of had a questionable moment passing the ball off to Bam at a time where he could have taken the last shot kind of near the rim. Bam looked like he wasn't expecting it because everyone's expecting Jimmy to take that shot. I think that's gonna get corrected, and maybe Chris Paul has a slightly colder night. So that's what I'm thinking.
I think they're probably both pretty even teams, but I like the coaching of Miami. I feel like
we still don't know what Billy Donovan's doing over there. How much of
that's Chris Paul's team, so it's going to be Chris Paul versus Eric Spoelstra.
You said you were going to have a trend in your pick?
Yeah. So OKC is at home, and I feel like the Suicide Squad just finally all realized that they have a lot in commmen. And they all
got that bomb,
and they all got to work. They all got to work together and make it happen. No, but seriously, they match up very well with Miami. They have a better interior presence. I feel like, even though Bam is playing
you got Bam
lights out. But I think Steven Adams is not hesitant to go out there. So I think overall it'll come down to just more discipline. They're gonna take the more disciplined shots, and like I said, man, Chris Paul, is leading the Suicide Squad. I think he's about ready to take the bombs out. That part at the end of the movie. And then they can really blow it. Hopefully they have a better ending than that movie, because that movie was terrible.
Yeah.
Next game, Detroit at Atlanta. I have Atlanta. The trend is they're at home.
Yeah, but their defense is so bad.
It's so bad, man. And their offense is just Trae Young. And what's his name?
Yeah, but the offense in Detroit,
the
offense in Detroit is all D Rose. I mean, you just kind of isolate him.
Blake's out
Drummond
again.
have a field. Let Drummond have a field day inside. Don't worry.
And Luke Kennard also is out, but I'm sticking by my choice.
Yeah,
you're not gonna make me feel bad.
I like
they're home. I picked every single home team. If you guys didn't realize that.
And I see in these picks, like, And I'm picking against JV a lot. I'm trying to strategize here. I got to make some distance.
Pick against Andre, not me.
I got to make some distance between you and me. I just got to not lose.
That's true. That's true.
You don't
got to be
win.
first. You just not lose.
Yeah, I just got to not
that
lose.
makes sense, actually. Yeah. Next game, Cleveland at Chicago. Rich and I both picked the Bulls. For some reason, Andre picked the Cavs. Andre, I'm going to have you defend this pick.
Bulls defense, baby. I don't know.
I like the Cleveland vets. Well, damn.
You like them?
Can I change it?
I don't know.
So I forgot they traded Clarkson.
So with Cleveland, the thing they do have going for them is they got mini momentum, right? They've won a couple games. The locker room looks in better spirits. After Kevin Love apologized, they're partying like it's 1999 in the
coach
locker room.
apologized for calling them slugs.
Yeah.
Slugs. And apparently he's called them slugs before. So.
Yeah, Stugs, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we do.
But
work on his pronunciation.
Yeah, they were partying after like the most basic win. Showering Tristan Thompson with cold water.
Yeah, that was pretty fun.
It's good to see it. I don't want teams to not have fun. I want them to have fun.
Yeah, celebrate the regular
season. If any team could spoil this, it would be the Chicago Bulls.
Of course.
Who just
Larry Markkinen, maybe. I talked about him as one of the people that I would look at, keep track of this year, or to look out for this year. Not me personally, but to keep an eye on. Larry Markkinen is having a career season despite the Chicago Bulls playing like ass. If you watch him, his interior defense has gotten better. He's not scared to contend on the defensive board, but on the offensive side, look at that fadeaway that he's working on. Watch it; it's pretty. It's very nice. But also, despite not having a whole lot of weight on him, he doesn't mind banging on the boards.
He's not afraid. That's for sure. He's pretty tall.
Strength in his legs,
that gives him some weight, to throw around.
He's got a little fit.
Got that good lower body strength.
Yeah. If you haven't seen it, that's what it was.
I've seen it. I've been keeping tabs on the man.
Next game is Lakers at Rockets. Going with the home team again. The Rockets.
Lakers are rolling.
They're due for one.
I think they're going to keep rolling.
I think the Lakers are the team to beat in the West. With
so much variance, I feel like, the Rockets could get hot, but I think Russell Westbrook's going to drag him down just a little bit, taking too many, sub 30% shots for him, which are all 3-pointers that he takes. And so I just feel like the Rockets are going to stay rolling. If we had to pick the Lakers are going to keep rolling. If we had to incorporate the spread, the Rockets could keep it close, but they could just have an off shooting night from three. So I think the Lakers are going to keep going, especially because I think LeBron and Anthony Davis will be back.
They've kind of, sorry not to cut you off, Andre, or not even let you start. But
it's not you.
The Lakers, they've evolved from that early on idea of, hey, let's just dish it to AD all day, have him fucking post up 20 times a game, and then LeBron gets the rest of the points and just kind of grind it out at the beginning of the game. They've increased their pace. Their pace has gone up throughout the season, so they're getting a lot more possessions per game. And that's because they're pushing the ball, right? They're not slowing it down and saying, all right, here you go, Anthony Davis. Grind on the inside. Or LeBron is going to ISO for fucking 20 seconds out of the shot clock and then settle for a three or, slash and dish. They're pushing it up the floor, and they've I think they've become more confident in their shooters. KCP.
Yeah, they've got enough touches to.
He's having a solid season. His 3-point percentage is above his career average, and his career average is already 36%. So I believe he's shooting almost 40 from the 3-point line this
one of their best. Yeah.
And so I think they're definitely rolling. I think the newfound Dwight has definitely helped with their interior defense and offense.
Or the secondhand quote, he's like, I don't want touches. Just give me the scraps.
Yep.
He's scrapping.
Yeah, that's good.
I don't know.
That's I like to have for a big man, especially in this day and age.
Just give me the scraps.
Yep.
I like the Lakers, especially if they want to play AD at the 5.
But I picked the Rockets. Why am I over here?
Why are you? I don't know, man.
Come over.
Let me tell you why I picked the Rockets.
Tell you what. Tell us what. Because they're at home.
Reason 1, they're at home. Reason 2 is I feel like the pace is still not fast enough to keep up with the Rockets. The Rockets their pace isn't the highest.
But when Russell's in there without Harden, they can be a little faster.
Yeah, they can be a little faster. But I think the onslaught of threes will come early. James Harden will be hot, and they won't be able to play that interior game that they like to play.
I like the Lakers perimeter defenders. And if you got AD at the 4, you can't really exploit him with Harden. I think they'll stagger Dwight, have him come in when
Just don't let Russell Westbrook shoot ever.
Yeah.
Don't let Russell Westbrook shoot ever, and you'll be fine.
It's hard to do, man.
Yeah.
I like the Lakers. Let's go to
Indiana at Denver. We all picked Denver at home. Next one. No, I think Denver is another team that is finally hitting on all cylinders. You know, they're what we expected them to be at the beginning of the season. Jokic is the key.
He's finished Pokemon, so he doesn't have no more distractions.
Is that really what happened?
Yeah, he was like binge watching Pokemon.
Okay, the show. Gotcha.
So he's done. Yeah.
I need some more Will Barton. Just kidding. That's a joke. That's a running joke. If anybody hasn't watched the previous episodes. No, but yeah, I mean, Denver is
the depth of Denver is good.
I think early on they had some woes from the perimeter. Jamal Murray was shooting at one point in the 20s.
Not completely where he needs to be though.
Yeah, he's not shooting 20.
But he's not.
He's not shooting 20% from three, which is what was happening at the beginning of the season. He's back close to his career average, so it's good to see that. Very simply put, you know, their offense is just
they're finally clicking.
Yeah, they're just clicking. Anything you've seen in particular from Denver outside of just?
I want to see more consistent minutes out of Michael Porter Jr. Because when he's in there, like, and he has some,
he's looking pretty good when he's in there.
Really athletic highlights. But I just think his minutes could be more consistent. Give him a good.
I think that team is just they're so deep. Is
16 to 19 minutes.
You have a luxury to play.
Well, Malik Beasley hasn't been shooting threes as well as he was in years past. Like I was really hyped up on his playoff run.
I'm higher on Michael Porter Jr.'s defense than his offense.
Yeah, like he's such an athlete. He's so tall. He can jump so high.
Very long.
Affect
makes
shots.
it difficult to shoot over.
Affect
Agile.
shots.
Yeah.
And Nikola Jokic, like people say, oh, he's all offense. He's not a bad defender. If you look at some of his lineup data, like their best defensive lineups happen to have Jokic in there, even though he doesn't have the counting stats. He doesn't have the blocks. He doesn't have the steals necessarily. He can run the break a little bit. You know what I mean? When he gets it on the fast break,
because he's not scary.
He's not starting it up. But like the fact that he is huge is a plus, and he does have feet that are a little bit fast. He can shuffle back and forth to kind of stymie the driver just a little bit. Just because he can't defend on the perimeter doesn't mean he's a bad defender. So I think give him some credit where credit is due. He can play on both sides.
Yeah, it's one of those things. And Rich, you said this a long time ago. And even when we hooped, it was like, damn, Rich, you're hard to get around. Even though like you're not like super like. Super athletic. I'm not trying to talk shit, right? But like, it's harder to get around him, and I'm just like, damn, like just be able to cover a lot of space horizontally.
Yeah,
is an attribute. It's a skill. Last on the list for the even game, San Antonio at Phoenix. You guys picked San Antonio on the road. I picked Phoenix because
they're at home. Okay, gotcha. I don't know, man. It's looking pretty bleak over there.
Devin Booker, kind of. I like the swag he's got going on lately. Did you see him the other night? Where he dunked and got a technical.
Right.
Yeah.
He didn't even do anything. I don't know why he got a technical. But I like to see his confidence to take more shots. That's what, when they won last year, they won. I don't have the stat right in front of me, but they had a winning record whenever he took more than 25 shots. So I want to see him just jack up shots. They're not going to win anything. Just might as well go out there and show us what you got.
I don't think they're on pace to win more than 30 games, are they? Because that's what he's been trying to do.
Oh, yeah, you guys said that they would win 30 games.
I thought they were. They were looking good to start the season, but I got tricked.
I forgot
I got duped.
In case you guys didn't tune into that episode, these guys both had Phoenix winning over 30 games, and I looked at them like...
Well, we're not halfway through the season yet. They just have to win 14 more. they could.
We're right at the halfway mark.
About, yeah.
For them, they're
right
at 40.
At it?
Yeah,
they're at 40, so they have to...
Yeah, 40. One more game, and they're halfway, and they're on pace. So they're on pace to win more than 30, brother.
We'll see. We'll see it looking rough out there. But yeah, they're the home team, so.
I don't know. I rely on San Antonio's offense a bit more, despite how bad it is. Like,
that's a contradiction.
Like it's gonna be better than Booker.
Oh,
even though like Booker is efficient and he gets his, but like the rest of their team.
Yeah, you also got Ricky Rubio.
Yeah.
Like, both of them at any moment can spark offense on their own.
Yeah, and if Jonas is playing like he was earlier this season, then they're good. But he's kind of cooled off.
The thing about JV is that he does not...
Or not Jonas. Aaron Baines, my bad.
JV?
He doesn't roll to the rim as fast as you would like him to. Like, he's very slow off of the PNR.
Yeah.
Are we talking about?
You were talking about Aaron Baines. That's what I meant.
Okay, I thought you said JV. You said the words JV. I was like, Jonas Valanciunas?
Sorry.
Yeah.
My bad.
That's why I was looking at you like that.
But yeah, like he doesn't roll to the rim.
Yeah, he spaces the floor, which is really great.
He hasn't been so great as of recent. So
did I say JV?
Yeah.
Yes. Oh,
it's because I said Jonas.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, why did you say that?
I got it. But I meant Aaron Baines. Okay. I meant Aaron Baines. I'm sorry, y'all. Don't kill me, Australia.
Cool. So now to our underdog picks. Rich, you go first because you were last.
I
Rich,
chose
you were
first,
last
yes.
week, so that's why you picked first.
So I chose the Pelicans over Utah. Number one, they're at home.
Taking a page out of my book.
Brandon Ingram is looking like he could definitely be an all-star reserve. Like he's looking like you got a game plan for this man, and I feel like the Jazz aren't going to go perfect against these sub 500 teams. You know what I mean? So I feel like this is one that they're on the road. Not a terrific road team, not one to write home about. But I think that they're going to have it rolling. I think even though they're going to miss Zion, I think they're going to be like, oh, we got Zion back. We got a game plan. Oh, he's not in. Let's kind of take a little bit of a breather. Maybe not work quite as hard, and maybe the Pelicans can just kind of rush all over them. So that's what I'm thinking.
I picked Golden State at home against Orlando. D'Angelo Russell will have a few more games under his belt coming off of injury. Eric Paschall was able to play better. He plays a lot better with D'Lo on the floor. So I expect them to put up their typical numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I still see the hustle from Draymond Green. I wouldn't mind seeing him take a few more of those, those jump shots. But I think all together, you put that all together, as long as they can stay close, they've proven that late in games they can stay. If they're in contention, they can start running away with it, start hitting those late game shots. D'Angelo Russell has proven that he can be a clutch shooter. So I'm just interested. I'm just interested in seeing how they progress moving forward, being that they do have D'Angelo Russell back and he's going to be a little bit more removed from injury. But Paschall is somebody who, were he not on such a bad team, we'd be talking about him a little bit more as maybe a possible sixth man. I think ultimately his role should be off of the bench. So maybe next year.
Mm-hmm.
I have to look at his contract number to see if he'll even be on the Warriors next year. But somebody will scoop him up. That's a guy that can definitely be a role player.
Put him on the Magic. They need scores sometimes. For real.
They can score sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
What you got, Andre?
So I chose Bulls over the Sixers at home. And for that is, Sixers, we know they're one of the best defensive teams in the league. But where they struggle is consistent offense. And I feel like with the Bulls, between Thaddeus Young, Lauri Markkanen, Zach LaVine, they'll have enough offense. And especially if they get hot from three, they'll have enough offense to, kind of keep them in the fight. So they have a puncher's chance, I feel like.
Yeah, well, the thing about, and I agree, and the thing about the Sixers is they look for the easiest shot, right? Because they're not gonna.
There's
not somebody running around all the time.
Like Ben, if he has an open lane, he'll drive and shoot. But it's like Tobias Harris, ISO.
They're looking for the easy bucket inside. But if they can't get that, like I said, there's nobody running around trying to get open, trying to run through screens. That's not gonna happen, right? So when you have a defensively sound team like the Bulls who can defend the inside, it makes it difficult, and they're not going to get those easy buckets. And all it takes is for somebody like Wendell to get hot on the other end. And Lauri Markkanen, we already talked a little bit about him, but if Wendell just gets a few shots going, I mean, we saw what they did here in Dallas not that long ago. Like, they were just hitting shit. Like, they just got on a rhythm.
Zach LaVine, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
hot.
He's
hot.
shooting very well right now.
Mavs narrowly escaped that one.
Maybe that night, those Ben Simmons like lurking by the rim because he already passed the ball off at the beginning of that possession. He's not going to get it back because he's not going to shoot.
Yeah.
Offensive rebound, kind of poke away kind of things.
But
Maybe they're not working for him that night.
Yeah.
no, that's all it takes.
Cool. If there's any other,
we had listener mail, right?
we did get a listener mail. I can go over that real quick. It's from our boy Ramiro again, and it's in reference to his fantasy football.
His fantasy league.
Yeah.
Didn't you say it was fantasy basketball?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's fantasy basketball. Does it football, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're just like.
So
lot of
Ramiro
sorts,
says,
man.
"Thanks for the fantasy basketball advice, guys. I agree that you should have a small segment to cover fantasy. As for my team, after my co-manager, in quotes, missed the draft, I started 0-3. After a few waiver wire pickups of Kennard when healthy, Will Barton, Derek Favors, and Wendell Carter Jr., we've been able to put a run together and are now 6-6. So nice turnaround, 6-3 since then. I appreciate you wanting to call this bad co-manager out, but I don't want to do him dirty. Let's just say his name rhymes with Pritchard Bustos.
Oh,
Pritchard.
So we'll let the people at home decipher who that is. But yeah,
I'm sure that guy
definitely
feels
Ramiro.
like.
If you want a fantasy segment, I've always been huge on fantasy. I do a lot of fantasy football. At one point, I was doing football, baseball, hockey even. So I'll definitely have something ready for you next week. And if you have any questions on maybe who you should start, I don't know if you play a daily format or a weekly format, but if you have any questions on who you should pick up from the waiver wire, I'll have something ready for you. But keep the questions coming for sure. And if you would like us to feature your questions, shoot us an email to shotcallershow@gmail.com. You can also reach us in the DMs on Instagram, _Shotcallers, Twitter, Shotcallers Show. And then, of course, you can always leave a comment either on Apple Podcast or on your YouTube video. Like, comment, subscribe, share with your friends. We really appreciate it. Trying to grow the show as quickly as possible. If nobody has anything else.
No, that's it for me. Please leave a review on iTunes.
Definitely. Leave us a review on iTunes. And you'll catch us from Portland next week. We'll be recording late next week because we will be flying into Portland. Yeah, so you'll probably catch us on the weekend. We'll be out there to catch the Mavs at Portland. Like I said, I'm going to eat as much as I can. Oh, I still have to do that challenge.
We got to fulfill the challenge too. Yeah, we'll be on Instagram.
I got to eat the hottest wings, so we'll have that on Instagram.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It'll be fun.
We'll be on Instagram Live. JV's going to be eating the wings, answering some questions that we have.
If you guys want to ask some questions.
A little bit of a miniature cool. Hot Ones episode, I guess.
Yes.
And then you guys can tweet in the questions, or not tweet them, but Instagram Live, ask questions on the spot, and he'll do his best to answer them between gasps.
That'll be fun. I like that.
Yeah.
So looking forward to that. From Portland. Catch us next week, guys.
I'm Rich.
This is Andre.
And I'm
the anarchist.
We're the Shotcallers. Catch you next time, everybody.
Anarchy.